This segment of CoastLife is sponsored by Coastal Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning.
We always love to have our friends over at Coastal Comfort joining us on the couch. We have them today. Usually, though, when we've talked to them in the past, it's most of the time just Lacey Coleman, CEO. Today, you've brought a friend with you, Lacey. We've got Tim Chesley as well. Lacey, what's going on over at Coastal Comfort right now?
Yeah, well, lots of things. We've had a little bit of warm weather already, so we have customers are turning on the air conditioning already, and we're already starting to think about summer is coming. So a lot of times throughout this time of year especially, people want to start thinking proactively of, what do I do with my air conditioning system? And over the years, we've learned that whole process of picking a company, picking a new system can be really overwhelming. So Tim has had 20 years in the field, 10 years working directly with customers, assisting them buying new systems. So I brought him today so we can hopefully make the process a little bit easier, things to keep in mind when you're going through that process.
Well, Tim, then let's bring you in here. Let's say I'm one of your new customers. I'm a little nervous. I don't quite know what I'm doing here. What are you telling me, and sort of what's the process that you're going to walk everybody through?
Okay, yeah, so kind of three important things in that process. Three things that you're going to want to look for when purchasing a new system. Obviously the company that you're dealing with, right? You have to be able to find some level of comfort and confidence in those folks. Whether that's the person, me, that's at your house to give you an estimate. Maybe you're doing online research and looking at reviews, things like that. Or you're a long-term customer. Regardless of how you do it, you have to build a certain level of confidence with those people to know that, when you make your decision, you're going to have a system that's installed properly, and it's going to work for many years to come. Another thing to consider, or another thing that we should be doing when we're going through that process is figuring out the size of the equipment that needs to be in your house. There's a common misconception, right? Bigger is always better. In HVAC, that is very far from the truth. You have to have a system that is sized properly for your house. And one way to achieve that, whoever's doing the work for you should be measuring your house and doing what we call a load calculation in some capacity. The last thing to discuss with the consumer or make a decision on is different efficiency levels and features. So you could have a system way at the bottom, right? A standard efficiency, single stage, or systems way at the top. All manufacturers have very large, a broad range of equipment that they offer.
And you guys have access to all sorts of different systems here. Lacey, if somebody is ready to sort of take that plunge, they've done sort of the online research part, they now want to know a little bit more, maybe they want to talk to a Tim or somebody like that, how do they reach out to you guys to get that information and sort of get the ball rolling?
For us, we love building relationships, and you can reach us online at coastalcomfort.com, social media, Coastal Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning, and then in Delaware, 302-629-4700.
And once you've reached out, once you've sort of made that first, connection, if you're somebody that's never done it before, what do they expect from that process? Do they reach out, you reach back? Do they reach out, kind of tell you what they want? How does it go? Because if I'm somebody maybe it's a first-time home buyer, they bought a house that was a little bit older, needs some upgrades in that area, but they don't really know what they're doing. What is that conversation like?
Yeah, so I'll cover, kind of the initial administrative side, and then I'll let Tim kind of come in for when he's arriving. So if a customer submits an online submission form through our website, or then yes, my office would reach out within very quickly. If it's, at night, you should expect a response first thing the next morning. So then from there, Megan would reach out. She would set up an appointment with one of our comfort advisors. So we're getting some basic information to be able to pass along to the comfort advisor and scheduling the proper amount of time.
And just how busy a time of year is it for you guys right now, Tim?
Going into the summertime is always the busiest, and through the summer. This is the time that we put a lot of hours in to make sure that all of our customers are taken care of. People really like their air conditioning, so
yeah,
nobody likes to be hot.
Yeah.
Right?
It's weather driven, so we've already seen some really warm days this year. So comparative, how many leads per week, this week compared to last year, or last week compared to the same week last year, our leads are up pretty significantly. People calling in, requesting these types of appointments. So if you are thinking about getting a new system, in this before this, now is the time to really start having those conversations.
Well, and I think that's the best piece of advice we could give everybody at home right now. If this is something that you are having an issue with, if you think you might need to have somebody take a look, now is the time to do it. Get a hold of you guys over
Yes.
at Coastal Comfort, because you don't want to wait. You don't want it to be 95, sweating in your house, being like, well, they're 6 months down the line because
Yeah.
everybody needs us.
Absolutely, and we've seen it for a long time. I've been in the industry 18 years, Tim 20 years, and it's the same every year. So the more proactive, that I talk about that a lot when I come here and speak to you, to being proactive is the best thing that you can do for yourself, your comfort, and your wallet, truthfully.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much
Yeah, of course.
for joining us on the couch. Tim, thank you for coming in and kind of
Thanks for having
taking
me.
that process, making it a little bit more accessible, I think, to the people at home. And Lacey, we always appreciate you having you
Yeah,
here
of
as
course.
well. So we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. More Coast Life after this.